this is probably something that no one ever does, but I'm doing it because I can't type anymore. But I was watching her video, and I graduated, if you want to call it that. Graduated high school in 1988. Should have graduated in 87, but I was, there's a thing called transitional, which I'm not sure if it exists anymore, but that's when you're left back in kindergarten, because they don't think you're ready for first grade. So, with that being said, basically, make a long story short, I got into, well, let's just say the first concert I was at, where it, I wasn't like, dragged to a concert, to like some thing that I didn't want to go to. I was I'm like 6 years old and excited, like, and I'm like excited like a 16-year-old. I'm seeing Elvis Presley at the matinee show in Nassau Coliseum in 1975. And I was blown away from that. Very far from being a musician or anything like that. It was just, that's what I did when I was home. I mean, my mother says that I was reading record covers from the age of 2 or something, like the liner notes, or I wanted to know what the liner notes meant. And so, Elvis basically turned into the Beatles about a year after that concert. And of course the Beatles were broken up when the year I was born, so that's the end of that. And then Lennon died in 1980, which it had a really again, I'm in 5th grade, I think, and I'm like crying all day, from the bus stop to the classrooms back to the house, because that's how much this affected me. And I was never affected by anything death related before. I mean, I remember when Elvis died, but I really didn't understand, which that goes back 3 years, and I was like, 7, 8 years old, so to speak. Anyway, I was basically into the Beatles, which I was a lot into comedy. I was into, like, my friend who lived down the street was, he had like Richard Pryor records, George Carlin records. So I grew up really like young in terms of like, which became movies. And, my cousin, Michael Uslan, is the owner of DC Comics. And, but I never got involved with him. I should have, but, which led to around 82, which after kind of like seeing The Kids Are All Right by The Who, I became, and I took drums in 5th year. It was the easiest instrument, right? So it was like 5th grade marching band, or 5th grade something or another, with this Mr. Saffron teacher, who was, I don't know, a buffoon. And I mean, all the music teachers were buffoons. I can name all 3 of them. My guidance counselor, like you mentioned, he was a toad, not very cooperative. Same thing. I think I did worse than you. I mean, I didn't even do the test. the SATs. I wrote my name on it, and I couldn't, I mean, it wasn't like I was falling asleep. It was like I just couldn't handle what I was reading. It was like I couldn't comprehend what I was reading and making the right mark, A through D or whatever it was, or 1 through 10, I don't know. I don't remember, because I'm like 55 now, going on nothing. So, but the fact is that I started drums around 82 in a band, which I've posted some songs here that I played with. Starting around 87, I was introduced to a bunch of guys, where one of the guys was like almost a savant with songwriting. He knew almost like every instrument. I had a keyboard player, a savant guitar player who knew Yngwie, Randy Rhoads, everything, by the age of 16 years old, all that stuff, And our singer he was a good lyricist, pretty good singer, not great, but we had a great keyboard player who, but we did this for about 4 years, and I also was in an improvised sort of jazz band. So I did two things. I was in a prog rock band that, well, it wasn't really prog rock. It was sort of, I pretty much invented these kinds of music. It wasn't Genesis, it wasn't the, Crimson, it wasn't the, it was definitely, I don't know where these guys came up with the stuff, and for me, it was very exciting because I was able to put my own drum parts to it, and I was also able to put my own drum parts to it, which the songwriting, even from the get-go, was very sophisticated, because and they were graduating high school. They were my age anyway. The guitar player was the youngest, and who passed away in 2015. I won't get into that, but who was almost my best friend, but he had a thing with bipolar, and passed away in New York City, homeless, and all that stuff. And that was 2015, and but years ago, this is like 87 through 90, I don't know, 93. It's hard to say now because it's so long ago. Like, where I just know that the band that I was in started in May of 87, and it sort of dropped. It ended of August of 90, and then a lot of us ended up in sort of mental hospitals for a while after that. It was just ironic, and the main guy was he had like this major falling out with his dad, because his dad wanted him to be an engineer. He didn't think there was anything in music, which he probably was right, because to be in a band and to have all the fame and all that shit, it's almost, good luck. It's not even, because now especially, you're 55, you're going on 60, you're all gray-haired, like myself, and I don't know, whatever. I don't even know what the other guys look like. I haven't seen them in like 10 years. So, I'm sure they're aging too. So it's like, it's too late for us to even start from, again and continue. It doesn't seem right, but what's out there is so, is so overwhelmingly insane. I don't know where anything stands. You know, I I mean, it's just like I don't know what the idea. I mean, the idea of a rock and roll band. I mean, I especially like the newer ones. I don't have a clue as to what's been going on. I just know of groups that have been sort of still going on, and like Weezer. I've been taking an interest in them, even though it's a bit of a challenge, especially their later stuff. I don't know what to think of it. It sort of goes out one ear and out the other. I don't know if they could just keep going. I think like Fish, and Fish doesn't make great records anymore either. So, I guess what I'm getting at is just like, well, the guitar player that I was in both bands with, I was in 3 bands actually, all different. One was an abstract sort of band that you can't even put your finger on, which had its own originality, and I don't know how many people would be interested. Another one was a sort of pseudo rock, progressive rock band, which had a lot of time signatures and things like that. I guess so. And the other one was we would even hit 4. We would just go, we hit record on a box, and somebody came up with, it was either me who came up with a beat, or the guitar player came up with something, or the keyboard or bass player, and the whole band would just follow for like 30 minutes to an hour. And a lot of the times it worked out, it literally worked out amazingly. But it all came clumping down. These are the type of guys that don't believe in, well, 2 of them are in a cover band, if they're still, it looks like, because they've been doing it since 2008, and it just, I just think it's been really a waste of time. I think it's sort of an ego thing for them. That's just my outlook on it, because of who's in the group and who else is in the group as well, and it's just to entertain their town so-called high school students. They're somewhat alumni, and to me it's just a dead end, a real sad dead end. Worse than my band's being deceased. That's how bad I look at the cover thing. It doesn't lead to anything. It's just, $500 in the pocket, and that's it. And they play all these modern crappy songs from whoever, Taylor Swift, or maybe, I don't know, whoever it is. They're all garbage to me anyway, but because I was brought up with Mahavishnu and Weather Report and Zappa and Beatles and Beach Boys and, The Doors and ELP. I mean, the list goes on and on. It's the typical Pink Floyd, it's the typical list that is, not the stuff like Styx, where I just, it's kind of crappy with a couple hits. But like I said, I was mainly into also comedy, which was like Monty Python, Saturday Night Live, and stuff like that, which I felt like I could maybe have a career in also, but that didn't. Basically, depression set in, and that's basically where I've been at for the last 10, 15 years. Just disability, because I didn't want to work at these dead-end jobs that, where at the time, I was being forced to do it. something I just didn't want to do. And these were like rotten, just jobs, just that paid nothing and didn't lead anywhere, but it was like, oh, it's, better than nothing kind of ordeal. I'm like, well, you make almost the same being on disability. So I just went on that instead. So, living in the, what you're doing, I think is actually, there's a part to it that I think is great, which is you get to interview all my idols. One day it's Tony Levin, one day it's maybe Gad, or, especially being a drummer, or, I'm a fan of all musicians. If it's McLaughlin, or if it's, I don't know if you ever interviewed McLaughlin, but if it's the Stones, or if it's the Who, or if it's, the Kinks, or Lou Reed. Most of these guys are dying anyway, and or half of them are gone, but it's just sort of sad. And even the scene around here, it's like live is like really like not like it used to be. Like to see a show, it for me is very rare, because most of the stuff that is being played is just a lot of garbage. Leftover garbage from like the 90s. Some of it, maybe a lot of, I think I saw Tim McGraw on the list. Just this garbage country junk. That's all. That's about it. I don't want to. I felt I couldn't type all this out, and your video kind of hit home, really hit home, based about school, how I flunked that, and how I really wanted to be in a band, but it didn't really hit me until I was a junior in high school, where I was sophomore, junior in high school, where I was playing covers, but where I started, I met these guys that, they were writing songs. So we were doing like one song per semester, because that was the problem at the whole thing, was they were more into, being from New Jersey, they were just not 100%, and you got to be 100%, or it's not going to work. And that's what happened. It was just, they were just like what we did and the money we wasted, and we just didn't put enough time into it, although they might have thought so, but suddenly everything the interest just started to sort of, I don't know. It was a bummer, man. It was just a bummer. These guys had something good going. I felt they had something good going for them, and they just, we got through maybe 8 songs originally, and I did more with the improv band than I did with them, and then the leader came out again, and he worked with me. Because he bought an 8-track machine, and I got the keyboard player back. The singer we just didn't bother with, and that's my story. I'm just gonna put a video over this and link it up, because I can no longer type any of this elongated stuff. It's just too much for me to do.